Συνεχίζουμε πολύ γρήγορα με μια στρογγυλή συζήτηση για τις προκλήσεις και τις δυνατότητες της ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας. Θα παρακαλούσα τον κύριο Γενικό Γραμματέα, τον κύριο Oikonomou, τον κύριο Agostino Santoni από την Cisco, τον κύριο Κώστα Papadopoulos, Vice President της Lockheed Martin και τον κύριο Νικόλα Papatsa, ο οποίος είναι ο Senior Partner του FA Group. Συντονιστής ο κύριος Hidiroglou. Κύριε Hidiroglou, έχετε το λόγο. Κρατάμε όσο μπορούμε τους χρόνους. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the American Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, I welcome you to our roundtable discussion, Challenges and Opportunities for the Greek defense industry. The duration is 30 minutes, and participants are allotted about 6 to 7 minutes, so that there's some time left for additional comments from our distinguished speakers. Allow me a very, very brief comment, because today I'm just the moderator. Just to open the discussion, the companies that make the Greek defense industry are developing at a fast pace and are export-oriented and very competitive. They produce a wide range of innovative products and offer reliable services and make our country a valuable partner in international defense programs. Greek companies are nowadays considered among the leading producers of high-tech defense equipment, not to mention night vision systems, submarine battery systems, drones, which are very, very updated, given what is happening around us. But the question is that enough? Given Turkish revisionism and the geopolitical challenges from the east, the north, and the south, the growth of our defense industry seems to be a one-way path. 2 points for thought. Procurement is undoubtedly necessary for Greek defense. Discussing the issue with experts on the field, I came to the conclusion that there is a shortage when it comes to specialized personnel. We have, therefore, to work more on policies in order to reverse the brain drain. Well, we used to use in Britain our word headhunting when it comes to recruitment. That's what we are supposed to do. And of course, we need better salaries when it comes to selection and when it comes to recruitment in order to attract the people that have left. And a last point, which I would like to discuss with you, is technologies used for defense can definitely be used for civilian purposes as well. So, our first speaker is Mr. Antonios Oikonomou, General Secretary of the Ministry of National Defense. And I'm definitely anxious to hear the government perspective on the prospects of the Greek defense industry. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Αγαπητοί προσκεκλημένοι και διακεκριμένοι ομιλητές, καλησπέρα σας. Αποτελεί ιδιαίτερη τιμή και χαρά για μένα να βρίσκομαι σήμερα μαζί σας για να συζητήσουμε ένα τομέα που συνδέεται άρρηκτα με την εθνική μας ασφάλεια, την οικονομία μας και την τεχνολογική πρόοδο της χώρας μας. Η ελληνική αμυντική βιομηχανία, με τις σημαντικές προκλήσεις που αντιμετωπίζει στους καιρούς μας, έχει τις δυνατότητες να αποτελέσει ισχυρό πυλώνα ανάπτυξης και σταθερότητας τόσο για την Ελλάδα όσο και για την ευρύτερη περιοχή μας. Η πραγματικότητα όμως είναι δύσκολη. Η περίφημη ελληνική αμυντική βιομηχανία ευημερεί σε νούμερα πλασματικής υπάρξεως εταιριών, ενώ η αληθινή εικόνα των πραγματικών εταιριών που έχουν δυναμική και προοπτικές είναι εξαιρετικά μικρή. Δεν ξεπερνούν τις 10-15 επιχειρήσεις και η συνολική συνεισφορά τους περιορίζεται σε μόλις 0,7 του ΑΕΠ, ένα νούμερο απογοητευτικό αν αναλογιστούμε τις δυνατότητες που υπάρχουν. Από την εμπειρία μου στη θέση του Γενικού Γραμματέα του Υπουργείου Εθνικής Άμυνας, την οποία θέση υπηρετώ 8,5 χρόνια τώρα, οφείλω να σας επισημάνω από την εμπειρία μου 2 χρόνια προβλήματα που διαπίστωσα και αντιμετώπισα. Η ελληνική αμυντική βιομηχανία πρόκειται για ένα τομέα που ενώ έχει τη δυνατότητα να προσφέρει πολλαπλά ωφέλη στη χώρα, παραμένει περιορισμένος από μια σειρά διαχρονικών προβλημάτων. Ένα από τα σημαντικότερα εμπόδια είναι η έλλειψη συνεργασίας με τους μεγάλους διεθνούς προμηθευτές, οι οποίοι κυριαρχούν στην παγκόσμια αγορά. Οι ξένες εταιρείες αποφεύγουν να συνεργάζονται με ελληνικές, ακόμα και στο πλαίσιο των υπεργολαβιών, παρόλη τη στενή πίεση που δέχονται το Υπουργείο μας σε όλα τα επίπεδα. Ενώ οποιαδήποτε προσπάθεια νομοθετικής πίεσης προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση συναντά συνεχώς την αντίσταση των ευρωπαϊκών κανονισμών για τον ανταγωνισμό. Τώρα προσπαθούμε κάτι να κάνουμε σε αυτόν τον τομέα για να βοηθήσουμε συστηματικά και σε συνεχή βάση την αμυντική βιομηχανία. Αυτό δυστυχώς έχει αφήσει την ελληνική βιομηχανία συχνά απομονωμένη και χωρίς τη στήριξη που απαιτείται για να ενισχύσει τη θέση της. Αυτή βέβαια η απομόνωση επιτείνεται και από τον βαρύ παρελθόν του κλάδου. Για πολλά χρόνια πριν, οι βιομηχανίες και οι εταιρείες αμυντικής βιομηχανίας στη χώρα μας θεωρούνταν δυστυχώς συνώνυμες με την αδιαφάνεια, την κακοδιαχείριση και δυστυχώς την κίνηση μαύρου χρήματος. Αν και αυτό το στίγμα είναι άδικο πλέον για τις περισσότερες των επιχειρήσεων, εξακολουθεί να επηρεάζει την εμπιστοσύνη της δικαιοσύνης των επενδυτών και των πολιτών προς τον κλάδο. Η προσπάθεια αποκατάστασης της φήμης αυτών των εταιριών είναι χρονοβόρα και απαιτεί συστηματική δουλειά τόσο από τις ίδιες όσο και την πολιτεία. Είμαστε όμως πια σε πολύ καλό δρόμο και αυτά όλα τα έχουμε αφήσει, θεωρώ και πιστεύω, πίσω μας. Και βέβαια δεν μπορούμε να παραβλέψουμε ότι υπάρχουν και λαμπρά παραδείγματα στον χώρο. Υπάρχουν ελληνικές εταιρείες που μέσα σε ένα περιβάλλον γεμάτο προκλήσεις διαπρέπουν και έχουν καταφέρει να σταθούν αντάξιες του διεθνούς διαγωνισμού. Αυτές οι επιχειρήσεις αποδεικνύουν ότι η Ελλάδα διαθέτει το ανθρώπινο κεφάλαιο, τη γνώση και τη δημιουργικότητα που απαιτούνται για να πρωταγωνιστήσει στον τομέα της αμυντικής τεχνολογίας. Το ερώτημα δεν είναι λοιπόν αν έχουμε τις δυνατότητες, το ερώτημα είναι πώς θα τις αξιοποιήσουμε. Ένας από τους λόγους που αποφάσισα να έρθω να βρεθώ στο πάνελ σας και στη συζήτησή σας είναι πέραν του Νίκου του Μπακατσέλου, που είμαστε φίλοι και από Θεσσαλονίκη και οικογενειακοί φίλοι, είναι γιατί στα παραδείγματα που σας είπα για τις υγιείς ελληνικές επιχειρήσεις που ξεχωρίζουν και στην παγκόσμια αγορά, είναι εδώ ο κύριος Παπάντζας και ο κύριος Παπαδόπουλος. Έχω τη χαρά να συνεργάζομαι μαζί τους αυτά τα χρόνια, τα 8,5 που είμαι στο Υπουργείο, και είναι ένα από τα λαμπρά παραδείγματα για τη χώρα μας. Βέβαια, θα πω εδώ, επιτρέψτε μου πάλι από την εμπειρία Νίκο και Κώστα, ότι από τη μία είναι καλό που αυξανόμαστε σαν εταιρείες και από την άλλη δυστυχώς έχουμε και αυτό το ελληνικό μεγάλο σπορ και χόμπι, ότι όσο αυξανόμαστε κάνουμε και άλλα σωματεία. Είμαστε πολλοί. Είμαστε πολλοί και διαιρούμαστε. Το λέω γιατί είναι η εμπειρία μου τέτοια. Επομένως, μια από τις μεγαλύτερες ευκαιρίες που έχουμε μπροστά μας είναι η σύνδεση του κλάδου με την πανεπιστημιακή και ερευνητική μας κοινότητα. Τα ελληνικά πανεπιστήμια και τα ερευνητικά μας κέντρα παράγουν καινοτόμες τεχνολογίες, οι οποίες, αν αξιοποιηθούν σωστά, μπορούν να δώσουν στην αμυντική βιομηχανία μια ανταγωνιστική σοβαρή όθηση. Οι συνεργασίες αυτές θα μπορούσαν να οδηγήσουν στη δημιουργία προϊόντων υψηλής προστιθέμενης αξίας και να ανοίξουν νέες αγορές στο εξωτερικό. Ακόμη, ο κλάδος μπορεί να εκμεταλλευτεί τη στήριξη που προσφέρει το Ευρωπαϊκό Ταμείο Άμυνας, καθώς και άλλες χρηματοδοτήσεις από ευρωπαϊκά προγράμματα, οι οποίες παρέχουν τους πόρους και τις ευκαιρίες για ανάπτυξη, καινοτομία και διακρατικές συνεργασίες. Η συμμετοχή σε τέτοιες πρωτοβουλίες δίνει στις ελληνικές επιχειρήσεις τη δυνατότητα να ενταχθούν σε ευρωπαϊκές αλυσίδες αξίας, ενισχύοντας την ανταγωνιστικότητά τους και δημιουργώντας τη βάση για μακροπρόθεσμη βιωσιμότητα. Κυρίες και κύριοι, το διακύβευμα είναι μεγάλο. Η αμυντική βιομηχανία δεν είναι απλώς ένας οικονομικός κλάδος. Είναι ένας στρατηγικός πυλώνας για την ανεξαρτησία και την ασφάλεια της χώρας μας. Οι προκλήσεις είναι πολλές, αλλά δεν είναι ανυπέρβλητες. Με στρατηγικό σχεδιασμό, πολιτική βούληση και συνεργασία όλων των εμπλεκομένων φορέων, μπορούμε να δώσουμε στον κλάδο τη θέση που του αξίζει. Σας καλώ, λοιπόν, όλοι να συμβάλλετε ενεργά στην εθνική αυτή προσπάθεια. Η προσπάθεια αυτή δεν είναι απλώς απαραίτητη. Είναι αφετηρία για τη δημιουργία μια νέας εποχής για την ελληνική αμυντική βιομηχανία. Σας ευχαριστώ θερμά.
Σας ευχαριστώ, κύριε Γενικέ. Θα επανέλθουμε γιατί προκύπτουν ερωτήματα. Από όσα μας είπατε, έχω μια γλυκόπικρη γεύση από αυτά που άκουσα. Έτσι, γιατί αναφερθήκατε και στις δύο πλευρές του νομίσματος, αλλά θα επανέλθουμε αμέσως μετά. Dear friends, Cisco is a technology leader worldwide. In a week's time, the company will host its annual meeting of stockholders, I heard. Is that correct? Yeah. It is. And everything seems fine, given that a few days ago, the company's share hit a year's high amid robust growth. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So I see a smile, so...
Of course.
Okay. Cisco is at the same time one of the greatest investors in Greece in the field of the Greek defense, in the field of defense industry. And not only. When it comes to defense, I look forward to hear from you what are your impressions while working with successive Greek governments?
Yeah.
So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be here in Greece. I'm super passionate, and I'm really thanking the Greek government for an amazing partnership. Years of incredible projects, and now it's a moment to see and to discuss about the defense and what does it mean for a country defense. And let me start with some consideration from my perspective. I run Cisco business in almost 21 countries, and most of them are in the European Union, with the exception of Israel. That has a lot to do with security and defense. And most of the countries where I'm operating are NATO members. So I can give you a perspective on what we see. First, we see that the defense industry, its material at worldwide level is almost $630 billion. NATO has a budget this year of $400 billion, 20% growth year on year against last year. That was 20% again. So it's quite a big budget, and there is, as you know very well, there is a lot of attention on how European Union, how a given country can stay competitive under these geopolitical circumstances. And the common denominator of all these countries is around how the defense industry can accelerate to make countries safer and at the same time more competitive. This is the common denominator we have. It was a question of budget. In most countries, we were under pressure around, hey, I have priority in different sectors, not the defense one. Now the world is changing. So the defense investments are top of mind of all the countries where I'm operating. In the European Union, as you know, big news under Ursula von der Leyen new presidency, we have a new commissioner around defense and space. That is another dynamic that is quite interesting. So what to do? We as Cisco, we are partnering with, I would say, most of the NATO countries. We have partnership in 11 countries in the European Union, and we see common denominator. The first common denominator to develop a sustainable defense industry is around digitizing the defense industries. For instance, we see in most of countries the acceleration of the creation of what I call digital backbones. I mean, if you look at the way the defense is organized, you have the Army, you have the Navy, you have the Air Force. Now, two further domains came at unprecedented speed, that is cyberspace and the defense, the cyber defense. So while in the past everything was built in silos with a lot of passion on being Army or being Air Force. Now there is a strong need to be consistent in creating digital services to make the defense more competitive and to create a safer environment. So we are partnering with most of the NATO partners and countries in creating these digital backbones that can accelerate the way to stay competitive. The second point is around defense is not only Ministry of Defense, defense is also an industry. And when you create new domains like cyberspace and cybersecurity, as before said, you need to have the capabilities to make it happen. That bring to my mind this concept of talents. With all these 11 countries in the MOD, we are partnering to create talents through our Cisco Networking Academy. That also the defense industry needs talent. It's not because of the cyberspace only, but it's mainly because if you want to be competitive in this world, you need to have also in the defense industry strong IT background. If you don't have it, you cannot make it. And again, I'm very bold on saying it. At the same time, the way we see the war operating, the way we see cybersecurity in action, being the largest player on cybersecurity at worldwide level, we see a world where knowledge and capabilities are super important. So, just a summary, the defense industry is big. If a country wants to be competitive and safer, investments on defense and critical infrastructure is super important. If you focus on that, and there is the European Union agreed to make it happen also for Europe with funds and investments, you need to think about the way you create a digital backbone through the critical infrastructure and through the different defense domains, starting from skills and starting from the creation of an ecosystem that can grow because of these investments. We see more and more that the countries that are investing in defense, they're also creating a new partnership, as you said, around university and research center. That is super critical. We see that create investments, attract investments. Think about Greece. Greece is in the middle of a geopolitical area, big time, has been always like this, but today even more important. I'm thinking about what the importance of the Mediterranean Sea. So I see these dynamics. We are Cisco. We are committed to partner with everyone. We built a portfolio of products and services around that. Just to give you the latest, we have created a service that is called Classified Network Services. What does it mean? It means that we also realize that there is a new word in our world that is called sovereignty. I want to control my data, my status, my people in my countries. Yes, I would like to talk to everyone, but I want to take control. So we have created these services together with our products to make sure that in some cases, the business we are doing, it's operated by people certified in the countries that give us more visibility, more transparency to a given state to make sure that we are running our operations that are super critical under the country roles. We have now in few countries, and we are expanding in all the European countries and, of course, most of the NATO partners to make sure that we are also able to do it. And we have great partnership also on this topic. I'm always saying that as a citizen of the world, I'm not happy to see this focus on defense, but I also see that it's a good sign to strengthen our democracy and the world I'm dreaming of. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. I've got a few questions.
Please.
But it's going to be a follow, second round of questions, because you're all saying interesting things, and I will need, well, sort of, I don't know if the word is correct, clarifications, right? Now, Mr. Costas Papadopoulos, he's the Vice President, Global Business Development, International Strategy for Lockheed Martin Corporation, as well as the legal representative of Lockheed Martin International SE and Global Incorporated in Greece. Sir, you've got over 40 years of international experience in aviation.
45.
I don't
Wow.
I don't dare to ask about your flight hours. But anyway, you heard my comments about procurement. You have a large part here of that. And, well, I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about the Greek defense industry, sir.
Well, actually, I agree with Secretary General that the comments that he made, as well as my colleague over here. The defense industry, it's not, although we do manufacture defense systems, but all these systems are platforms. And these platforms, they need a lot of inputs, data, to fuse all these data to work together. Otherwise, you go back, what we had once upon a time, that the strategy was focused towards a single system. We are not there anymore. We have moved forward. We are covering, everything in a way. So I agree fully with my colleague over here about the cybersecurity, which is one of the main elements in all our systems. So in a way, tying, the systems together and talking about JADO, Joint All-Domain Operations, this is one of the main things here. On the other hand, I want to go back to what the Secretary General talked about earlier about the defense industry, about spending, about the investments and so on. I fully agree with that too. The thing is that definitely Greece has made a great advancement in buying equipment, and lately they have worked pretty close with different industries around the world, and mainly Europeans as well. And in order to boost their capability for the defense. But beyond that, in order to keep those systems going, you need to create the ability to have the maintenance and the follow-on support in country, and which it has two main elements. The first one is the spare parts and the technical capabilities, and the other one is human people. It's to have people to support all this equipment, to have the skills to go forward, and this way, you need to keep the equipment going forward. Otherwise, you just end up having a lot of hanger queens, what we call, in our language, which you have aeroplanes or systems sitting in the hangar because there are lack of spare parts and whatever. So there are two things, that you need. We need to create more or less the capabilities and the skills, and we need to make sure that Greece has got the manpower to support the systems, but on the other hand as well, you need to have the spares, you need to spend the money, you need to invest in the spares, because otherwise you're going nowhere. In terms of the various capabilities that we need to have here in Greece, we have, for example, Hellenic Aerospace industry, which has been created a long time ago by Lockheed Martin at the time, which is it's quite capable, but it needs a lot of upgrades, because it has been created 50 years ago, and you need to modernize in a way. In terms of investments, Greece has to invest in that capability, in these capabilities, and mainly going forward, if Greece wants to have the manufacturing capabilities and be part of the ecosystem, in order to manufacture parts for different weapon systems, we need to find a way that Greece has to invest. I'm just bringing some examples here, like, for example, in Italy, we have a number of sub-assemblies and major assemblies that they built there, you know, for the F-35 aircraft. But Italy itself, the government and the Ministry of Defense, and as well as the industry, have elected to invest money there according to a program where they're going to have a long-term capability, a long-term production, and get their money worth, you know, back from there. Same thing in Germany. Germany has invested their own money there. And the German companies, they have the capability of manufacturing certain things. So definitely Greece needs to make sure, you know, and make a decision, take a decision, what they want to do and how they want to go forward in something like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll come back to you as well with a few questions.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, and let's complete the first round with Mr. Papatsas. Well, it's time to hear from the Greek industry itself, but there is a war in Ukraine, and it's still on. And the question is if the necessary investments have been implemented in the last couple of years. What about Greece? What about your relationship with the Ministry of National Defense? Is there a distance? I put the word into quotation marks. Or there is what we call the functioning relationship?
Okay, I will try to address your question by simply saying, making a statement first, that the geopolitical situation that arose in 2022 with the situation in Ukraine perhaps changed the whole perception of how, in general, the European Union was really thinking and acting about defense. In reality, defense was a sacred cow. Nobody would touch it. And investments were very few. And even if we look at the policymaker of the European Union, Article 346 would say that each country needs to decide on its own how do they deal with defense and security. Now, the war in Ukraine changed all that. For the first time, Europe realized that there are threats in its external borders, even though I must associate this in Greece with the asymmetric threat we had in our borders in 2020 and in the Aegean Sea. So there are real threats that the European Union for the first time realized that its external borders are affected by external enemies. Second most important lesson was that NATO could not fulfill the European Union requirements and some investments were needed. So this all started, and if we look at now 3 years later, the European Union took several decisions in order to effectively invest not only in buying defense equipment, but in also securing its industry, creating a technological base that would be very strong, and that technological base would supply most of the defense systems, and they even went as far as to say that 50% of the defense systems in the European Union would need to be manufactured by 2030. So this is a good metric. They set a bar. Now, what does all that do? The European Union decided not only to invest money, but as we saw recently with some of the decisions, it's allowed to use restructuring funds that they were available from the European budget for each country, as long as they were, I may say in quotations, dual-use systems. So now we see a lot more funds are available in order for the industry to progress and fulfill its mission of creating systems. Let's take now a step in the Greek industry. I think the years of the financial crisis in Greece presented, of course, various challenges, not only in the industry, but also in the armed forces themselves. This was more evident when we came out of the, as I mentioned before, of the asymmetric threats with our borders that we had in 2020. The government sped up and took some decisions in order to modernize the Hellenic armed forces. Of course, coming out of a financial crisis, spending funds, and we're talking about significant funds in defense, was something that, of course, was not at that time forecasted, not foreseen, but yet, at the same time, we see that some of those policies, that they were good policies or decisions to arm our government, they also did not have the necessary, let's say, spillover effect to our Greek defense industry. Greek defense industry seems that in the financial crisis was able to develop primarily with the European defense research programs. I must say, and was to be very proud, that Greece ranks number 5 in Europe in EDF programs according to the size of our country, behind, I would say, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, which are much larger countries, which goes to show that we have very good technical capability, we have very good personnel that can develop systems. Now, as we move forward, I think the security of supply is a very, very important principle based on which the Greek government needs to invest further outside of the European Union, needs to invest further, not only for creating a security of supply for our own armed forces, but also developing the industrial base further. And as you know, the work in defense or the employers in defense, one position of an employer in the defense industry creates 2 more positions in the general economy. These are the statistics of the European Union, not the statistics that somebody else would say that is specific to the industry. So, having said all that, I believe Greek defense industry can develop, has shown the promise. We need the investment of the government. Mr. Oikonomou very correctly mentioned that this is one of the tasks that the ministry is looking at, and we're looking together, because the self-reliance and the enhancement in technology will have great benefits, not only for our country, but also in the economy.
Thank you very, very much. We've got maximum 10 minutes, so I would like to ask you one question each, and I need a brief answer. I will start with Mr. Oikonomou, ο Γενικός Γραμματέας του Υπουργείου Εθνικής Άμυνας, στο οποίο πέρασα και εγώ 4 υπέροχα χρόνια από τη ζωή μου, στο γραφείο τύπου. Όταν παρακολουθούσα τα θέματα άμυνας, είχα πάντα την εντύπωση, γιατί άκουσα και τον κύριο Παπάτσα τώρα προσεκτικά, ότι υπήρχε μία, ας το πούμε έτσι, απόσταση μεταξύ του Υπουργείου, είχαν συμβεί βέβαια διάφορα στο παρελθόν, μεταξύ του Υπουργείου και της ιδιωτικής ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας, γιατί υπάρχει δημόσια. Δεν νομίζω ότι υπάρχει λόγος να αναφερθώ τώρα στο κομμάτι της κρατικής, γιατί αυτό έχει κριθεί, το έχουμε συζητήσει πάρα πολύ και ενδεχομένως οι περισσότεροι από αυτούς που είναι σήμερα κοντά μας έχουν κάποια εικόνα. Το Υπουργείο, βέβαια, σε καμία περίπτωση και η ελληνική κυβέρνηση δεν μπορεί να είναι πρακτορείο εξυπηρέτησης συμφερόντων ιδιωτικών εταιριών, γιατί και οι εταιρείες της ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας ιδιωτικές είναι εταιρείες, επιχειρήσεις και ο σκοπός τους είναι το κέρδος. Από εκεί και πέρα όμως, ποια είναι τα κίνητρα που δίνει η ελληνική κυβέρνηση, στην προκειμένη περίπτωση το ΙΠΕΘΑ, προκειμένου να υπάρχει ένας διάδρομος ανοιχτός για τις εταιρείες που ενδιαφέρονται, παραδείγματος χάρη, να συμμετάσχουν σε προγράμματα που κερδίζει η χώρα κτλ.
Θα τα πω τελείως κωδικοποιημένα. Θίξατε ένα θέμα το οποίο το έθιξα εγώ, λέγοντας ότι τα παλιά χρόνια, όπου το χρήμα έρεε και δεν έγιναν σωστές επιλογές και σωστές ενισχύσεις της ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας για το ότι υπήρχε χρήμα, αυτό ήταν ένα κακό προηγούμενο, που δημιούργησε ένα κακό όνομα στις ελληνικές εταιρείες. Και μάλιστα είπα ότι αυτό πια είναι ένα κακό παρελθόν, έχει φύγει αυτό το κακό όνομα. Ανέφερα και για τις 2 επιχειρήσεις εδώ, που είναι λαμπρά παραδείγματα της σύγχρονης ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας. Όσον αφορά, για να μην κρυβόμαστε στο δάχτυλό μας, το βασικό πρόβλημα που έχει το Υπουργείο Άμυνας είναι το χρήμα, ο προπολογισμός. Προσπαθούμε με πολύ λίγα χρήματα να καταφέρουμε το δύσκολο. Γι' αυτό και η σχέση μας με τις εταιρείες της, είτε είναι αλλοδαπές είτε είναι ελληνικές, είναι, αν θέλετε, και αναγκαστικά στενές, γιατί προσπαθούμε να βρούμε μια άκρη με το οικονομικό. Να εξηγήσουμε κάποια πράγματα, να βοηθήσουμε, να βοηθηθούμε. Υπάρχει μια σχέση, νομίζω, στενή, σοβαρή και εμπιστοσύνης, η οποία έχει οικοδομηθεί τα τελευταία χρόνια και νομίζω όλοι γνωριζόμαστε πολύ καλά μεταξύ μας και ξέρουμε όλοι ότι ενισχύουμε την εθνική μας προσπάθεια. Εγώ προσωπικά το μόνο παράπονο που έχω από τις ελληνικές αμυντικές βιομηχανίες, και όχι από τις ελληνικές, λάθος έκφραση, από τις ξένες, οι ελληνικές κάνουν ό,τι μπορούν να μας βοηθήσουν, δεν μπορώ να πω, είναι ότι δεν υπάρχει διάθεση, αυτό που είπα και στη συνομιλία μου, να συνεργάζονται εύκολα με τις ελληνικές αμυντικές βιομηχανίες, όση προσπάθεια σε όλα τα επίπεδα, αν πιέζουμε εμείς από το Υπουργείο Εθνικής Άμυνας. Αυτό είναι ένα θέμα που προσπαθούμε να λύσουμε και νομοθετικά, όπως σας είπα, αλλά έχουμε το θέμα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης με την Επιτροπή Ανταγωνισμού, που συνεχώς μας δημιουργεί εδώ κάποια αναχώματα.
Μάλιστα, αυτό είναι γεγονός. Είναι γεγονός για την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και τα προσκόμματα που θέτει σε αυτό που κάποτε δεν ξέρω αν αποκαλείται ακόμα procurement, δηλαδή στην αγορά οπλικών συστημάτων. Και βέβαια η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση έχει και αυτές τις δικές της προτεραιότητες και τη δική της αγορά όσον αφορά τα συστήματα. Οπότε υπάρχουν και ο καλός εννοούμενος ανταγωνισμός στην προκειμένη περίπτωση. Και γι' αυτό και η Ελλάδα, όταν προφανώς προβαίνει σε αυτή τη διαδικασία, πρέπει να λάβει πολλά υπόψη της. Η κυβέρνηση εν τέλει. Γι' αυτό υπάρχουν και διακρατικές συμφωνίες. Mr. Agostini, you mentioned the word cybersecurity. You mentioned cybersecurity. My question is, in the era of hybrid warfare, have NATO countries, EU countries, generally, well, I'm asking for your experiences on the field, actually adopted to the new priorities?
Well, you know, the way we see it, we see the convergences of three main topics. One is the regulations that are mainly coming from the European Union. We are becoming now expert on NIS2, and as an example of all this topic around regulations, where European Union countries has to align on this. That is one thing. The other is what NATO is requiring, that is more technical and financially driven. And the third is around technology. And what we see that in every single business processes, where business processes mean how to deal with, in the Navy, with the connection when you are in the ocean, and where to get bandwidth in a safer way, as an example. So we map as Cisco our portfolio for any defense business processes to make sure, for instance, that cybersecurity is embedded in everything that we are doing and the Army or the defense is doing, because it has to be embedded. There is a great learning, back on what the Secretary said before, around the partnership among public and private. And in defense is super critical. You cannot be more competitive and safer if you don't work together with a private company. That is super, super critical. And last comment that we are noticing also in cybersecurity, but not only, is how the defense industry should become more agile.
Okay.
And agility is a new attribute that you have to have in the way you are acquiring goods and services. That's super critical, and the way you're implementing.
Thank you, sir.
So that is super important.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Papadopoulos, I heard recently a comment from Elon Musk about aviation, and it was about aviation. I can't help it, but I'm a journalist. So, my question is, what is the future of aviation in the era of drones?
Well, actually, It is a system that we're going to, definitely. But in addition to that, in order to be able to control the drones or be able to work with the drones, you need to have a highly skilled and highly capable platform in order to do that. So if we're talking about specifically drones, then you need an F-35 to be able to control them.
You're so right.
I think my colleague here agrees to that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So that's one way.
Όπως λέμε στα ελληνικά, άνοιξα τον ασκό του αιώλου τώρα.
Can I say a comment here? Can I say? I was recently with the Ministry of Defense of Czech Republic, and they recently decided to acquire the 24 F-35.
That's correct.
And I've learned that I was thinking about airplane only behind, as you, of course, as you rightly said, there is a platform, an incredible, amazing platform behind that if you don't have it, you can have all the drones you want, but it never works. So huge appreciation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Papadopoulos.
Now,
Το ξαναλέω στα ελληνικά. Νομίζω ότι άνοιξα τον ασκό του αιώλου με αυτή την ερώτηση.
The other thing, of course, that we need to highlight here is that the defense industry has got a lot of applications in the civil as well.
Yeah, that's
on the civil side. So if we want to make it, to be cost effective, we should always look on the other side of the coin, not only on the military.
Not to mention the satellites, huh? Not to mention the satellites.
Not to mention the satellites. Okay?
Not to mention the
satellites is one of them. Drones is another thing. UAVs, and you just name it.
Thank you. Κύριε Παπάτσα, μια τελευταία ερώτηση. Είναι η καινοτομία η απάντηση στα θέματα της αξιοποίησης και της ανάπτυξης της ελληνικής αμυντικής βιομηχανίας?
I think, if I may answer in English, I think the innovation is a very important concept, and we know that in defense there's a lot of technologies that require innovation in order to be exploited and to be put into systems. I just want to make sure that when we're talking about innovation and research, we must be very clear that we want at the end of the day to end up in systems and not be able just to do research. So one of the things that we want to really push forward, and our government is very positive in creating an innovation organization that will cater to defense. We want to ensure that the programs that they will work for the innovation will turn into systems and therefore will turn into industry benefiting by making something and by creating something that can be not only adapted by our armed forces, but also can be exported to create the industrial base or to support the industrial base. So let's be cautious. Let's not make research for research, because there are other programs that are doing that. I must say, EDF, as you know, is investing approximately $8 billion over a course of 7 years. EDF are industry programs. If you really look at the EDF programs, 75% of them go to the large prime suppliers, that they make systems. So we want to ensure that the same ratio will also affect our innovation programs, and the government has really done a positive step in supporting that.
Dear gentlemen, thank you very much. I would like to thank the distinguished speakers who had with us today, and I'm looking forward to see you again and discuss with you all the issues concerning the Greek defense industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.